The Missouri Child Abuse Hotline is operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's run by well-trained Children's Division workers who will be able to appropriately assess your concerns. The identity of those who call the hotline to report suspicions of abuse or neglect is confidential, and anonymous reports are accepted. In response to the Jerry Sandusky crimes at Penn State University, the law in Missouri changed in 2013. It was no longer sufficient to report suspicions of abuse to a supervisor or administrator. Instead, the duty to report suspected child abuse is a direct individual duty. By law, mandated reporters must report to the hotline when they have any reasonable cause to even suspect that a child is, has been in the past, or may be in the future, abused or neglected. Mandated reporters must also report to the hotline when they observe a child in conditions or circumstances that would reasonably result in abuse or neglect. Under the law, anyone who's responsible for the care of children is a mandated reporter. This includes, but is not limited to, all medical providers, mental health care professionals, social workers, daycare staff, school personnel, ministers, and all law enforcement. However, anyone can and should use the child abuse hotline if they have concerns, whether they are a mandated reporter or not. It would be natural for someone who has suspicions to hesitate and want to know more before they take the step of calling the hotline. But we caution against further investigation. There are lots of detailed protocols to properly investigating suspected child abuse, and if you don't know what you're doing, you may actually damage authorities' ability to thoroughly and properly investigate. If you call the hotline and you continue to have suspicions of abuse, please call again. If a child discloses abuse to you, do not question the child in great detail. Do not offer the child any benefit for telling. Instead, thank the child for telling you, tell the child how brave they are, and then call the hotline. Please keep in mind that crimes against children can occur over the internet as well. Should you have any concern about internet-based child abuse, please also call the Missouri Child Abuse Hotline. While considering one's duty to report suspected child abuse or neglect, it's very important to know that in 2012, the law defining criminal child abuse in Missouri changed dramatically. Previously, child abuse was limited to egregious and excessive acts of punishment. The law has been completely overhauled. Criminal child abuse now encompasses any infliction of physical injury to a child that is non-accidental and that's not reasonable corporal punishment. But importantly, criminal child abuse now also includes neglect, mental and emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. Criminal charges can be brought against someone who intentionally and unjustly injures a child physically, mentally, or emotionally. Criminal charges can also be brought against someone who takes unreasonable risk with a child by placing that child in a situation in which they're likely to suffer physical or mental injury from abuse. Countywide, we take our commitments to protecting children in St. Charles County very seriously. We have a committed team of government and non-government professionals ready and prepared to investigate properly and thoroughly. But any solution to the difficult problem of child abuse and neglect must include the commitment of communities, neighbors, relatives, and each and every person with whom our children come into contact. Few reports to the Child Abuse Hotline end up leading to criminal prosecutions. In many more instances, social services is allowed to engage with families in a manner that creates change in individuals and families, that strengthens relationships, promotes healing, and builds a family environment secure against abuse and neglect.